please do so. They're great. Also, our wait staff, please do tip them. They've been wonderful tonight. And don't worry, the beer's still going, the wine's still going, the food's still coming. They're just bringing it to you now. You just don't have to go to them anymore. So my name is Bill Bussey. I'm the director of the Northwest Institute for Social Change. So I'm excited to introduce my good friend Louis Cohn, and see, that's the applause meter. I think went out for Louis a little bit louder than me. Louis and I have known each other for a long time, and we competed against each other in air band in high school, and I also lost to him there at the applause meter, which still stings a little bit. So thanks for bringing that back to the surface for me. First off, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. It's been an incredible summer for us. This is the end of 10 weeks. It's been amazing that we've gone from the first night of out in the Oregon woods throwing frisbees to where we were this morning, and I'm watching students screening documentaries and playing radio broadcasts that are This American Life quality, that are just top notch. It's been really a wonderful thing to see happen. Already some of you this has been shared with, and hopefully the rest of you've begun to get a bigger idea or a better idea of what we've been up to. Hopefully by the end of the evening, we'll get an even better idea. Have all of you had a chance to meet some of the fellows this evening? If not, there will be time afterwards. They're going to come up here and they're going to present. They're going to talk about what they've done this summer, but they're all sitting right up here, and they'll be milling around later afterwards for questions and answers. So just make sure that you grab their elbow when you get a chance.
Thank you, Bill. So tonight marks the end of our first summer of the Northwest Institute for Social Change. We've had 13 amazing students with us for the last 9 weeks. Tonight they're just sharing just a small piece of the work that they've done. I want to tell you just a little bit more about how they spent their summer, and then they'll have a chance to show you their projects. So, Stephen, will you hit the slide?
Someone grab the lights right back there, please, too.
So, it was summer camp, but it was also hardcore academics. We spent a lot of time in classroom. Sometimes the classrooms look like this. Sometimes they look more like traditional classrooms. But we did spend a lot of time looking at the theory of social movements. And in fact, I want to recognize Tony Accarino, who is here. Yeah! As you can tell, Tony was well loved. He was our professor for the History of Social Movements course and really set the tone for the rest of the summer. So students also, they spent a lot of time studying. It was not all just fun and games. There was just a lot of people coming together, networking, and exchanging ideas, contemplating some of the readings that they worked with. A lot of the summer was about building a network. We want to build a network of students who are going to go out and be media activists. So part of what we felt we needed to do was have them to get out in the wilderness and get together to form a community. And we also wanted them to have fun, so we did really have summer camp. We spent time tubing, and we spent time surfing, and we even had a field day that had balloon tosses. In fact, the students even said, they kind of coined a term called fun guilt, because we give them all this work to do, and they would say, who wants to go on the slip and slide? And so they called that fun guilt. It was horrible. Yeah, it was tough. So tonight takes us to the practice. They did do a lot of learning about theory, but this is also about putting some of this theory into practice. So the projects tonight represent the work that they did, taking those theories and putting them into practice. So tonight, they're going to share with you, and we click one more. So again, it was about fun and accomplishment.
So we started this program, there's as much fun as it was, there's also recognition that there's so many serious problems in the world right now, and a lot of them can be traced back to the media's shortcomings. I mean, certainly the war in Iraq, we can roll back the clock 4 years and ask, why did the New York Times do a better job of uncovering lies and deceptions about weapons of mass destructions? We can certainly look at TV newscasts and ask, why are we paying so much attention to Paris Hilton when there's clearly problems in the community? And that's a lot of what we wanted to look at this summer. I think what we saw was that, along with the problems, there's an incredible number of opportunities. The students spend time studying masters, who we call the masters. David Halberstam, a wonderful writer from the New York Times, Ira Glass, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with, Ed Murrow, who hopefully you had a chance to see some of his work that we were screening out the front. And they had a chance to learn from some of these masters, and also to look at the opportunities that there are right now with technology, with YouTube, with current TV, with blogs, with any online opportunities. So we wanted to give students an opportunity to look at some of these new technologies. So when we started, we weren't really sure what we were doing. We didn't really know what to expect entirely. We knew that we wanted good students. We knew that we wanted smart students, ambitious students, and most of all, passionate and optimistic students. And we were, to tell you the truth, we were overwhelmed. We were amazed at the 13 students that we had. And I have to say, after 10 weeks of spending time with them, I'm truly, truly inspired. I mean, when we talk about the next generation that's coming up, so much media gives attention to, oh, this generation is spending their time on MySpace, or this generation is worried about Paris Hilton. This is not the students that we saw this summer. This is a group of students that are sincerely concerned about what's happening to their communities and how to make social change. What we were hoping for is some support from the community. And I have to say, we were overwhelmed by people that stepped out, filmmakers, community leaders, homestay families. I think Lewis is going to thank a few of them right now, actually.
Sure. Let's just name a couple, particularly who are here. And we mentioned Tony Armarino, who was a professor, really instrumental. We also want to acknowledge Jamie Idle. She applied as an intern, and quickly we realized that she definitely could take on about anything that we threw at her, so we threw a lot.
And we never let her go, even when she asked, we let go.
So we also, I know all the film groups will be thanking Dennis Fitzgerald, but he runs a film company in town called Your Mom Films, and he was instrumental in helping the film groups. We also have way in the back corner over there is Brett Vale. He's looking back for himself, but as humble as he may be, he stepped in when we had some technical problems, and he just stepped in and made himself available even to the last minute today, students who were running to burn DVDs for this, so we want to thank him. And we also, there's a lot of folks in this room. I know there's parents, families, people who supported the program in terms of their expertise, in terms of their funding, and also just having a chance to speak to some of the families and parents in terms of also lending your children to us for the last summer. So thank you all very much for the support.
Lewis and I are going to stop talking here. I'm going to bring up the first group of 4 students. These are 4 students who had no film experience before this summer started. What they did have, they had some concern about soldiers that were returning from the war, and they had concern that soldiers were returning, that they weren't really being recognized, the media wasn't recognizing some of what they were being left with. And some of these soldiers are their peers and friends, so I can bring up 4 students who are going to both introduce themselves. This is our first documentary and introduce the project.
My name is Jacob Sherman. I'm a student at Portland State University. This is Sally Sorey. She's a student at Whitman. Josh Gross, who's also at PSU with myself, and Meg Nansen at Smith College in Massachusetts. For the past 7 weeks, we've been filming a documentary asking the question, what does it really mean to support the troops? We started this project out with almost little to no experience in film, but fortunately, the Institute introduced us to a number of community members, directors, editors, producers, who were all so quick to jump and give us help the help that we needed. Some of this help started out with creating a film treatment, which is basically an outline to a script. This was followed by a script itself, which was formulated to tell a compelling story, along with some of the much more technical elements, such as where to place your lighting equipment, where to place your camera, and the fine art of editing. At times it was incredibly hectic. There was a Monday morning where we were scheduled to shoot later that day a psychologist who you will actually see in the film. But Monday morning, 10 a.m., we're sitting in class learning about the radio, and we get a phone call from the communications director up at Fort Lewis in Washington. She was calling to let us know that we've been granted an interview with the military, however that we needed to be there the next morning at 9 a.m. And for those of you who don't know, Fort Lewis is about 2.5 hours late, and you can't be late to interview the military. So that day we finish up our interview about 6, 7 p.m., go home, set our alarm clocks, all of us, for 4:30 in the morning, and then proceed to actually do the preparation for the interview that was about to happen. For me, that meant actually calling Dennis Fitzgerald, who we mentioned already, a director we've been working with, and just letting him know we scored this interview, it's crucial. So about midnight, I go to bed, and 12:45 my phone rings. It's Dennis. He's in LA shooting a music video, and he literally puts the fear of God in me. He says, Jacob, you have to get on the Fort Lewis website right now, and you have to figure out every single shot that you want when you're up there. Because you can't go trouncing around a military installation with a video camera shooting whatever you want. And if you do, they'll take all your footage, and then you won't have your interview. So needless to say, we got little sleep that night. But the next morning, we got up to Fort Lewis, and we were running on adrenaline. And basically, that's how it's been this entire summer. We've been just running on excitement. Sally is now thinking about wanting to be a film director. And Josh, over the past couple of days, Josh and I, we've been talking about a documentary about the college national debate championships, which are going to be held here in Portland. Meg, she wants to be a film editor. Me, I'm personally interested in producing and directing films. Something I've dabbled with in the past, but right now we've had this crash course, and it's just so damn amazing. All in all, it's been an amazing summer, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I just want to thank you all for coming out here tonight.
As Jacob said, my name is Sally, and I'm entering my senior year at Whitman College, and afterwards hopefully working on more projects like the one you're about to see. So during the mornings, we took classes and we studied the evolution of the media, and we learned about yellow journalism, which emerged in the 20th century and set the norm for reporting, undercover reporting, finding out about black markets, crime rings, and exposing the yellow underbelly of society. Well, that trend has escalated to the tabloid, scandal-laden, celebrity-style reporting that we see today. And as future media makers, we want to change the media and empower the viewers and the readers. And so what we seek to create is sort of the love child between art and change, or creating with a purpose. And so our specific project today, we wanted to learn about the Iraq War, and more specifically the soldiers, because they represent an entire generation, our generation, who will be dealing with the ramifications of the war for the rest of their lives. And so we went out, and we wanted to unravel the mystery of the yellow ribbons that you see plastered to the bumpers across our highways in the city. And we interviewed the families and the veterans and let them tell their own stories. And we wanted to find out, what does it really mean to support the troops? So now I invite you to watch our documentary, which is less than or equal to 15 minutes.
Thank you.
particular house is plastered with yellow ribbons. We are yellow ribbon central because we have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, and yellow ribbons are what they understand. When my son was in Iraq the first time, I put a yellow ribbon out for every day that he was there. And so there were hundreds of yellow ribbons all around my yard.
It happens in Atlanta, it happens in Seattle. People just walk up to you and say, hey, thanks. Thanks for what you're doing.
When I look at yellow ribbons or flags, there's really no sense at all of anything. When I see people throw on the sticker, I think it's just a way to say, hey, look at me, I'm a good person, I'm helping out.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, it's a constellation of symptoms, and some of those symptoms include flashbacks, nightmares, episodes of irritability or anger, sleep disturbance, depressed mood.
I know my son now, hair trigger anger, immediately. If we're driving down the street and someone kind of cuts out, into the lane, he said, they'd be dead if we were in Iraq.
Have a very low tolerance to certain stimulation. They would avoid anything that would remind them of the original trauma. That's another hallmark of post-traumatic stress disorder.
These people need really, really concentrated counseling.
I've heard some very senior generals, and I think they're right on, is they have publicly said that every soldier, we should assume that every soldier coming back from combat has some level of post-traumatic stress disorder.
People become quite debilitated in several domains of their life. They may or may not be able to hold a job. They generally have a lot of difficulty with interpersonal relationships because of the severity of some of the symptoms.
The war that's been going on, in our understanding of its treatability, is soldiers are, treated and let back into the force and are ready to, continue to serve.
Basically, it interferes with one's ability to function.
And then we screen soldiers when they come back, just to ensure that we haven't missed something, that we need to get them into the treatment program.
A lot of times people don't want to say if they do have a problem, because if it turns out, you need some drastic psychological help, or, something goes wrong with your final physical and you need to stay, a lot of people just want to go home. That's really as simple as that. And if you tell them, oh, by the way, my back hurts, I fell off a tank while we were over there, my back hasn't been good since, or I hurt my leg, or, I'm having trouble hearing out from here, then you will actually get kept in longer to get a medical evaluation.
I spend about $520 a month on a doctor, just for my own personal use, because I haven't had a lot of progress with the doctors that the Army provides.
But had I come back with some sort of, say I fell off the tank or hurt my back, I might, at that point in time, I was so desperate to get home, I think I would have just told them whatever they wanted to hear so I could go home in time. You can go in the Marine Corps, and it's not our choice to go to the war, but we'll go there. But, when we come back and we're injured, I think it's very much the responsibility of the military branch of the government as a whole to take care of that Marine, that sailor, that soldier.
When I got home, I started to notice pains. Back pains, knee pains, ankle pains. I couldn't run half of the way I used to run before I left. I laid down and couldn't get up anymore.
If you get hurt serving your country, I believe your country owes you absolutely everything to try and fix that problem or help it cope.
I would go to the doctor, and the doctor would say, well, here's some ibuprofen. And I don't really know what's wrong, but here's a donut to sit on. They call this air inflatable seats a donut. And so I would feel ridiculous. I'm sitting in my office chair, sitting on a donut, taking ibuprofen and in pain, like I'm a 50, 60-year-old man, and I was 23, 24 years old. And I wasn't getting assistance, I wasn't getting help.
There's just too much. There's not enough people to help us vets when we get back. It's better than it was from talking to friends. Things are getting a little bit better, but the longer this goes on, the more people come back, the more people flood the system, and the longer these wait times are going to get. But they really try and beat it into you that when you go out into the real world, one, you're on your own. There is no more brotherhood.
If you're a citizen driving down the road and you're going to be going to work or going to church or whatever you do, and you hit that stop sign and there's a man standing there with the homeless sign, you can reflect on him as a vet. And give him some words of encouragement or support. Keep your head up.
big basket of hearty foods in our car. We drive, we go out of our way daily to try and get food out to the middle street corners. Most of them are veterans. Many of them are veterans. In fact, we were having this conversation with Carney the other day with my 3-year-old. We actually we pulled off the highway, and there was a man, a Vietnam vet, standing there with his sign, identifying himself as a Vietnam vet on the corner. But I couldn't get far enough over to pass the food out to them. So we had to do this big loop. We encountered 4 veterans in this loop around the highway in an effort to get back to the one that I couldn't reach originally. Both of my children holding food in their hands, 2 and 3-year-olds passing food out the windows. The Vietnam veterans. And you would explain it to them, and they kept saying, Mom, why is the man holding the sign? Why does he need our food? And I said, baby, it's because he doesn't have the things that we have in our life. He doesn't have a home, and he doesn't have a family that loves him, and he doesn't have enough money to buy food. And it's important when you have those things to share what you have with somebody who doesn't have as much. I said, these men went to war for us a long time ago. They left their home and then left their family to try and take care of us so we could have all the things we have now. And that's why it's especially important that we take care of them. And they said, but Mama, why are we taking care of this man? We're a perpetual 2 and 3-year-old. Why, Mama, why? And I said, because baby, I said, think of Beach over there in the rock right now. I said, what if he needs something? What if he were hurt? What if he were lonely? Don't you hope that there's somebody over there who's going to get over him? Who's going to take care of him or help him? I said, if we want somebody to do that for him, then we need to do it for the men who are on the corner.
What does it mean to me to support our troops? It means writing to your congressman and to your senator.
At Christmas time, we have been just absolutely overwhelmed by the number of boxes, care packages, with simple things like ramen noodles, simple things like toothpaste, shaving, razor blades.
It means getting on your knees and praying every day for those troops' safe return.
You can bet it out the world you want. Just don't bet it out the troops. We're out there trying to do our best.
It means being an upright American. It means voting.
What does supporting the troops mean beyond that? Gosh, I'd like to see 20 years from now people are supporting the troops. Supporting the troops means to me not forgetting them once they get back. You're not letting them become invisible again as they walk down the sidewalk. To me, that's supporting the troops.
I'm really happy and impressed with the job that these students did. Can we just get a little bit more applause for that? So each week the students had classes in the morning, and then they were able to hit the streets in the afternoon to work on the projects. And in the classes each week they had a theme to tackle: objectivity, subjectivity. And one of the really important themes that went throughout was civic journalism. Each week they would take this theme and they would couple it with a particular medium. We talked about objectivity in print media. We talked about civic journalism in radio. And for that week, we studied case studies from Ira Glass. People are familiar with Ira Glass? That was definitely one of the mission statements I think we're going to do next year. Is less Periscope and more Ira Glass. The case studies that we used for Ira Glass, we get 2 episodes that he talked to survivors of the Hurricane Katrina aftermath. And he went, there was obviously a very official line coming out about what was happening down there, and there was a very much different story happening on the ground. The students listened to this and they learned lessons about finding out stories from voices that aren't necessarily out there. The next group that you're going to hear from, actually, is a group that went out and worked on podcasts. They worked with 24/7 Town Hall, and I want to give a big thank you to 24/7 Town Hall for adopting 5 of the students this summer and really giving them an opportunity to work on podcasts. I believe at each table there should be a flyer that talks about the website. It's a remarkable new addition to the city, and something that I hope you will have a chance to check out. The students will talk about more. You'll see this influence in the next set of programs that we have. I can have some of those students come up and start to introduce those. And I also want to give a big thank you. We couldn't have gotten here without our own community that we had. We had a wonderful board of directors that has been with us the entire year, and we've been working to put this together. This building is the new building for PAIR, which works with homeless youth. Who is unfortunately not here tonight. She's in Chicago due to a fundraiser so she can pay to keep this building. She's been fantastic support all along. John Haynes is in the back there, who is the executive director for VersaCore Northwest. And those of you that are from town, of course, will be familiar with the very adorable, incredibly intelligent, always active Sam Adams. Joanne Bowman has been a champion, and she's left her email open for the students, she's left her phone lines open for the students. Thank you, Joanne, for everything that you've done for this project. Community, I want Alicia to take the microphone and talk about her project.
I'm Alicia Adams, and I was part of a group. There were 5 of us who worked with a website that focused on issues that were relevant to Portland. And it's called 24/7 Town Hall, as you've already heard. Basically, the website is a civic journalism website, and that's because its content is generated by its users and not by necessarily polished journalists. It's designed to be really easy to use, so people who maybe aren't as familiar with internet applications can come on and feel comfortable and contribute. It's also designed to engage people who don't normally have a place for their voices to be heard. Essentially, what I think is so great about this website is that it views the internet as an opportunity for not only community building, but for democracy itself.
Hi, and on that note, I'm Jackie Kennedy. And pretty much what we did, taking the idea of civic journalism and this website as a tool, is that the 5 of us picked issues that we thought were really important in Portland. And then we went out, instead of talking to figureheads or going to press conferences, we went out and we talked to members of communities who are most directly affected by those issues. So what you're going to see is different topics ranging from racial profiling by police officers to immigration and even education here. So, with civic journalism, we hoped ultimately to provide a forum for these people and their voices and their own concerns. So what you'll be hearing tonight is different samples from some of our projects. Some of us did more than one, so we had to take a very brief snippet of what we've been doing, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. We hope you enjoy it, and we're proud of it, and here you go.
Yeah.
podcasts, how to create that story that you can present to others. I had the tools for civic journalism, but it wasn't until I came and had the chance to work with Dan Fellini, who was the managing editor. That I got to start, putting some of those ideas into action. So what I started with was I tried to start with an idea or a topic that I already cared about, and that's homelessness. And I started looking for stories in Portland that I could focus on. And many of you may know that over the last year here in Portland, there's been a committee of business people, homeless advocates, people from the mayor's office who have been coming together to try to provide direct services to the homeless downtown. But what's more controversial about this group is they've also been responsible for renewing what's called the sit-lie ordinance, and that makes it illegal essentially to sit or sleep on downtown sidewalks. So I was really interested in this process, and I basically set out to figure out what was going on behind the scenes, who were the decision makers in this process. And this piece you're about to hear, it's a little under 3 minutes, and you're going to hear the voices of some homeless advocates, and they're kind of expressing their discomfort with what was going on. So thank you for listening.
I was almost 8 years in Portland, and for a number of years I slept in the parking lot of the building. And every morning at 5 o'clock, the security guard would come by and say, "Wake up," and he'd say, "You can't sleep here." I said, "Well, you tell me that every morning." The guy would get up and leave. So there was no reason for him to call the police.
That was Patrick Nolan, one of 3 people from Sisters of the Road who has served on the SAFE committee. That's the committee that added bathrooms, benches, showers, and lockers for the homeless to downtown Portland. And yes, they also helped pass the newest version of the sit-lie ordinance.
I've heard everything from, "Thank you for doing a great job," "Thank you for the 24-hour restroom," "How can you betray your community?"
Patrick's not the only one representing the homeless community. Mark Jolin is director of Join, an organization that moves people off the streets and into permanent housing. He's got one concern.
How do we as a community better invest the resources that we have in ending homelessness, in addressing the real issue at the end of the day, which is that people are having to live in our public spaces?
Like Patrick, he thinks SAFE has given service providers some political traction.
When I was in Portland in the early 90s, we were talking about bathrooms, we were talking about lockers and benches and all of these things, and for years and years and years, not much of anything got done. You're telling people they can't sleep outside, but you don't have nearly enough shelter capacity for folks, and so for some people you're putting them in an impossible situation. They can't comply with the law.
It's issues like these that motivated Mark to work with the SAFE committee. Maybe if they keep talking, they can change the way Portland interacts with the homeless.
Locking folks up or trying to run them off, those are strategies that we've been pursuing for the last 20 years, and they haven't worked.
The deep and lasting answer would be more jobs, affordable housing. I mean, like right now, 20% of the city of Portland makes a living wage.
They're talking about changing city policy, creating jobs, raising wages. These are changes Mark hasn't seen in years of advocacy.
This is an experiment worth engaging in. It could go very wrong in the sense that it might not work. It might be that we get this ordinance and it turns into a tool to harass people on the street. But it could also go very right.
And also how they can be a place to build community as well. So this actually the picture up here is Paige Reeves. He's a teacher at Vernon Elementary School in Northeast Portland. I'll get to him in a minute. The 2 other stories that'll be on the website, as well as the complete version of this one, is one is about a high school senior who put together a rock concert to raise money for Portland Public Schools music programs. And the other is about this alternative school in North Portland called Open Meadow, and how the way they run their school is the idea of relationship-based learning, where the kids who are struggling the most, who've dropped out or are failing in school, what they really need is
is just someone to be there for them, and someone to believe in them and push them forward. And so, Gage Reeves, his school has the lowest neighborhood enrollment of its local kids in any school in Portland. And so, to combat the fact that the school is becoming very empty, it's less than half full of the students that it could have, he got the funding to put 2 gardens in on campus. One is an edible garden filled with vegetables and fruits and herbs and sunflowers that are hopefully going to be integrated into the school a little bit more, as well as an organic plants garden. And so you'll be hearing about the last minute of this piece, about this man and what he did. And I just want to say right now that I'm really proud of all of the endless interns and what we've been able to produce, and it's really great to be here. So thanks for listening.
Thanks, yeah.
Low enrollment doesn't mean small class sizes. Schools are funded based on how many students they have. So as Vernon loses students, it loses teachers. And that's how schools get closed. This is what Reeves hopes to change with the new garden in 2 ways. As a way to draw people in and as a way to reach out. It is getting noticed. A parent, David Lewis, stops by to see the garden, even though his son has already graduated. And he's surprised to see how much everything has grown since June.
The size of it in the short time that it's been, I'm really surprised.
Reeves calls the gardens beautification, not only beautiful but functional. Lewis is more down to earth.
It's better than dog poop and beer bottles.
While his son won't be able to reap the benefits of the garden, Lewis is still glad that the gardens are there.
I was pleased that somebody got the children together to see that everything they eat doesn't actually come from Safeway. I think all children should get together and do this.
And that's what Reeves is hoping for. That the gardens not only help the kids, but also help create a stronger community around the school. Ultimately, he says,
it brings hope. A place like this brings hope.
Jackie Kennedy reports.
I'm going to be a senior at Portland State University, where I concentrate in media studies and creative writing. Really what I'm most interested in is finding new and engaging ways to equip young people with media literacy skills. In my opinion, knowledge and awareness are the only tools that can interrupt the constant bombardment of targeted marketing that kids deal with daily. For my project, I wanted to just listen to a focus group of teens. I wanted to hear about their experiences with the consumer culture from them. Next, I have a 3-minute video, a sort of uncommercial from the mouths of the most affected. And I just wanted to say that this was an hour and a half of meaningful conversation with these kids, 3 of which are right over there. Yeah. And this was taken down to an 8-minute video, and what I'm able to show you is just a 3-minute condensed version, so I hope you enjoy.
Our communities are gathered together, made homogeneous, simplified, so that they become the intense yet vague, magical yet repeatable promise offered in every purchase. No other kind of hope or satisfaction or pleasure can any longer be envisaged within the culture of capitalism.
You are trained from birth to know that there is a monetary system, and that's what everyone wants, is money.
These are the voices you never hear when academics and intellectuals discuss the effects of consumer culture on youth in America. I have given a group of teenagers the opportunity to tell us about their consumer culture, what it looks and feels like, because on this subject, they may just be the voices of reason, the ones with an answer.
Whether you wear it because you like it, or you wear it because that's what you want people to see. And with different brands, you can completely do that.
People just really show themselves like through the things they wear.
Clothing as a mood ring.
somebody could get their happiness from shopping.
Yeah, absolutely. For some reason, parents don't pop into my head.
I can't imagine how someone can have like full happiness out of shopping.
If someone was to take away all those material items and that money, all that glamour, then they wouldn't be happy anymore. They think that it is these material things that make them happy. All they need to do is understand that, like, they're just telling themselves that internally. And they can do that with anything.
You see 10-year-old girls dressed like supermodels, and at that age they already have arrived beyond what life's about.
Everything they're trying to do and everything they're trying to be is just an image.
It gets you to that point to where you think that, you know, you can buy those things in order to be happy. We create music and we create love and happiness and good vibes.
We just create madness.
We go across the apartment and just paint the drawings that we've done.
I like to get jewelry and give it to my friends and people.
Do any of you share your work with others?
That's like one of the most fun things about it. It's like, hey, check out this song we made, like, dance to it, have fun. Check out this painting, you want it? You see it on the wall, it's really cool thing.
We are down for trading.
Yeah. We could support ourselves in a smaller community rather than having to rely on major corporations.
So I think if we did have like a small chain business where we could like get specific things that people would do that we just wouldn't buy for like a month.
People are gonna have to start learning to make things for themselves.
Our basic needs are so easily attained that we don't even think about it anymore. It's all about what we're working with.
You know, there'd be certain people who, you know, still mainly use money, and then I think there'd have to be something like a market where that community, people who can go there and trade certain things. It's good for our environment, it's good for the future.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. Hopefully you've all been enjoying our beer and wine and are feeling really good just in time to find my presentation particularly spectacular. Let me introduce myself. I'm Kathleen Margolin. I'm an international affairs major at Lewis and Clark College. And I came to this program firstly to study politics from a different angle, and also because I have been interested in journalism for a while, but have not had a chance to pursue that interest throughout my college career. So the Northwest Institute for Social Change has been a unique opportunity to get exposed to journalism and study the relationship between the media and the political system, and how the media can be used effectively to promote social change. The media is a much larger part of our lives than we might realize because it's always there. So we stop noticing that it is there or how it affects us. So whether I will be working in the media or with the media, I will be prepared to do so because this program has helped me to understand the various elements of the media, how they deal with the media, and how the media can be a friend or one's worst nightmare in business, in politics, and really any arena. So I feel these newfound skills will prove to be very useful in any of my future endeavors. And my project is based on civic journalism, and I chose to research Portland's African immigrant community because they are a beautiful part of Portland, but people have been struggling in the shadows for too long. So civic journalism is a way to help build a voice for this community. I've been biking to all corners of Portland to meet with people, and let me tell you, I've gotten quite in shape through this project. Meeting with community leaders, immigrant and refugee individuals, some city staff members. I've been conducting a lot of research, learning how to create podcasts, and overcoming technical difficulties. That was fun. good times, but it has been an extremely stimulating and exciting experience, and I'm very thankful to everyone who took their time to meet with me and help me throughout the project. Some of you are here this evening, so thank you very much. And right now, I am going to show a clip of different sections from the podcast that I have made to represent the overall project, and I hope it will motivate you to check out the complete work on 24/7 Town Hall's website, which is listed on the little flyers on your tables. Dialogue is a critical step to any change or progress, and that's what we hope to accomplish at 24/7 Town Hall, and then to take it from there. Thank you.
My neighbor didn't say hi for 5 years. So after 5 years, I was outside and he said hi. So I said hi to him. I said, do you speak English? I said, yes. He said, really? Speak English? He said, oh, I thought you don't speak English. That's what for the last 5 years. I said, say hi to you.
Where I got from, that's when I entered the middle world. Cars, buses, lights, buildings. I was confused and then showered, turned the street to the right, and what I got, I was impressed. Then after school, I used to have 2 hours and just sitting there in the bubbles and stuff. So I love it. It's like super clean. What's up?
We give them training, we give them workshop. For instance, we teach them how to take a bath. The person never took bath. The need is huge. People are coming from rural area. They don't have any urban living experience. So we have to start everything from beginning.
If you are immigrant and refugee, there's a certain assumptions and limitations that a French American makes about immigrants. I am a big accent, I am an immigrant and refugee from somewhere else. I do deal with these issues day to day, every day, whether it's the public, whether it's government offices, assumptions that we make that if you are not white, English speaking, Christian, then there's something wrong with you. Let's get to know each other. Let's create connections. Walk with the different immigrant and refugee community. Know your neighbor. Know your other immigrant and refugee community. Try to find out the common ground that we can work together to make social change in this country and make sure that our needs and our issues are being taken care of.
First of all, I just wanted to give a big thanks to Josh Gross for manning the soundboard tonight. Hello, my name is Brian Winger. I started Monday, will be a junior at the University of Colorado in Boulder. I'm a political science major at CU, but I'm also very involved in the church back home in Colorado. And sort of out of the work have developed this sense that things in the world are not as they should be. And I've always sort of felt calling to do something about that. And this summer for me has really just been a sort of stepping out and developing new skills and taking the skills I already have and becoming a journalist. And sort of engaging the movement for positive social change from an entirely different viewpoint. And one of the very first organizations that we were able to meet with once we got into Portland this summer was Oregon Action. And again, I just want to thank Joanne Bowman and Jerry Washington for all of their for all their support of the program and all the help that they provided to us fellows. And just in talking with Jerry, it became clear to me that the issue of racial profiling was by the police department was a very pertinent issue here in Portland. Just last summer, they conducted listening sessions at each of the 5 police precincts. And it just really gave the community an opportunity to engage into a dialogue with the police and just sort of express their side of things. And in hopes that that dialogue might create a sort of community policing, which is the idea that the racial profiling committee, which we just started this past January, is really pitching. And community policing basically just means that the work towards determining police tactics is not a one-way conversation. It should include both the police bureau and the community. So I thought for my project I would go into the community and see if community members also saw that as a viable option for eventually ending racial profiling. And one of the people I talked to was Johnny Gill. He is a recent college graduate and a lifelong resident of Portland, graduated Jefferson High School. And here's a short 30-second clip of Johnny's in response to a question about community policing.
I think that could be a very good idea, and like you said, it'll help people get to know the police officers a little bit more, see where they're coming from. They're able to see where we're coming from. And I guess my biggest thing is during the basketball game at Jefferson High School, the police force should be in as many numbers as they should be at Central High School. The more things that they can do to change mindset and for them to understand the communities that they police and to treat everyone equally from top to bottom, I guess it's easier said than done, but I think that's the area, that's where we need to be trying to go.
And that sentiment that Johnny kind of expressed was a common sentiment among community members that I talked to. Just the idea that, and it really struck me because a lot of the community members I talked to had not heard of the racial profiling committee and the work that they're doing. So it really struck me that even though they hadn't heard about that work, they still had in mind these common ideas and tactics for how to solve that problem. So that's one thing that I'll really take out of this summer, not just with my work with racial profiling, but also just with these 12 other college students from across the country. I think it's easy to identify common beliefs that there are problems in the world, but I think when we really get down to it, we do have common ideas and we have common solutions. And I think it's our job as civic journalists at 24/7 Town Hall, or just as citizens deeply concerned about issues in our communities, it's our job to uncover that and to discover those ideas and solutions. Because at that point, I think the movement for positive social change becomes that much stronger. Thanks.
We have one final group that's going together, one final short documentary. What makes the Northwest Institute unique is not only were we teaching students how to produce stories, how to bundle stories, but we were trying to teach them how to find the pressure points in their communities, how to get to city council, how to find decision makers and get their art and their media delivered to those people so that it can make a change. This final group is an interesting gaggle of 4 students. I hear some familiar laughter at the tables. Although they put together a documentary movie, 3 of these students want to be writers when they grow up. And they're very concerned about the future of print media. 3 of the students want to be writers when they grow up. The other student is a very smart and had to be a very patient student. They put up with these 3 women. They were wonderful students and had an incredible bond and have put together an amazing product that I think you guys are going to enjoy. Why don't you guys come on up and introduce yourselves?
And as you've seen from these wonderful projects gone before us, the media canon does have an incredibly powerful role in shaping how we talk about and how we understand our world. And we started out working on this project as a group of student journalists with the knowledge that right now we have more types of media than we ever had before. Of course, there are newspapers, television, radio, and right now the internet is just exploding. To use a very graphic word. If we're at a critical point politically and socially here in America, we're also at a crossroads with regards to the media. And so the project that you're about to see, our 8-minute and 34-second short documentary, it's a snapshot of where we are today, a meditation maybe on the relationship between newspapers and internet and how that's evolving right now and is going to continue to evolve in the coming years.
Thanks, Rachel. Hi, good evening. My name is Stephen Wissow. I'm from Baltimore originally. I came here about 4 years ago. And on Monday, I will begin my second semester as a senior at Reed College in Southeast Portland. My background outside of school is in community organizing, particularly in social issues, but also alternative transportation. Academic interests in English. And you may ask, so why does this lead me to the Northwest Institute for Social Change? But I see it as the perfect synthesis because it really comes down to social change. It is something that I'm extremely invested in. It's how we live our life. And on the other hand, in terms of news media in particular, they really frame how ideas are received and how people can relate to each other and go through some of these movements for social change. So that's what brings me here, and that's what brings me to this documentary with these other wonderful new filmmakers. But I actually just wanted to speak a little bit about our process. None of us have ever made a film before in our life, let alone a documentary about news media. I'm sure most of us have held handycam before for home video, but that's about it. So imagine us walking around with a 30-pound professional video camera kit from Portland Community Media, an 80-pound professional RE lighting kit from Your Mom Films, all graciously donated for the period of the film. And we're transporting this around on a TriMet with the infrequent but extremely useful donation of Lewis's car for a couple of months. So in any event, we're traipsing around Portland. We have been through warehouses, freight elevators, excuse me, the news editing room of the Portland Mercury, coffee shops all over town, literally all over town. And we've really just met some amazing people. We've just been so impressed. I mean, certainly the folks you're going to see up here, one of the things that really impressed us was the way that some of the news, maybe I can call them news activists, the editors of the Mercury, some of the founders of Urban Honking, the blogging community, have found the perfect way to marry bias and opinion and a real stance on things with something that I would call true objectivity, or at the very least, strong transparency about their views, which seems like the best objectivity we can have these days. And we were just so appreciative of their openness to interview for this film, as well as Brett was mentioned, Dennis over at Your Mom Films, Mike who showed us how to use Final Cut Pro, Tyson who showed us how to set up lights so the shadows cut just the right way across the nose. We're just so appreciative of everybody who helped out along the way. As we said, 8 minutes, 34 seconds, sit back, relax, and thank you so much for coming tonight.
The world's first blog was created by a college student in 1994. Since then, the web has expanded exponentially as an outlet for written expression. What was different about this new form was that it was accessible to anyone with a computer and an internet connection, and publishing took seconds rather than weeks. The internet was fast, easy, and cool, but turned out to be much more than a fad. It quickly established itself as a viable challenge to print media, and with this new challenge, many wondered if print would be able to survive the next century or even decade. Recent years have seen a sharp decline in newspaper and magazine circulations. In Los Angeles, Chicago, and even New York, major publications have stopped their presses. Print media, it seems, has had trouble coexisting with new internet medias. We talked to two editors at the Portland Mercury, an alternative news weekly, and two of the founders of Urban Honking, a blogging community, to learn more about the interplay between their respective mediums.
And I really don't mean to say that, but it's like being at a party. You know, if you're at a party with 30 people, there's maybe, realistically, there's, you know, like 4 or 5 people that you want to have a conversation with, and maybe the rest of them, they're there, but maybe they don't really have anything interesting to say. Unfortunately, that doesn't stop them from talking. So, I guess that's how I approach the blogosphere.
And we got a stack of neighborhood newspapers, and we get everyone in the city. And I think that the street group, street newspaper, the daily paper, and lands on our doorstep every morning. I check that out. I tend to watch the morning news on TV too. I'm just kind of a news junkie in the sense.
I don't know. I think it's pretty unique. I can't think of another site that I would say is like Urban Honking that we need to inspire. It's true. I've looked for them. I've looked for them other things. So, other people have to be doing this.
You can sell like ass.
Well, but
The type of challenge internet poses to print media is nothing new. In the early part of the last century, radio emerged as an attractive new mass media. Like the internet, it was a venue for news, entertainment, and community involvement, which was in many ways more easily accessible than newspapers or magazines. In 1913, more people were reading newspapers than ever before, but with the new additions of radio and film, print circulation was poised to begin its decline.
I think print has been around for so long because the internet hasn't been around for that long. I mean, I think as it becomes more and more natural to get your information online, there is going to be that steady decline of newspapers. Like, it's slower and it doesn't work as well and it's more expensive. There's so many even just magazines that said, oh, we're just going to an online magazine. We can sell the same amount of ads and not have to print anything, which is what costs so much money. So, yeah, I think it's going to be, people are going to figure out what print is better at than the web, and that's going to be those purposes.
The average American watches 29 hours of television each week. It's hard to imagine this leaves much time for reading newspapers. Television dominates American culture. It's entertaining, it's engaging, and clearly we love it. Before the internet was even invented, television had nearly eclipsed print media. The internet then would have seemed a death blow to print. Strangely enough, newspapers and magazines are still around.
Newspapers are definitely going to have to get it together in order to bring in new readers, because kids are not going to be picking up newspapers. Newspapers will still be around for all the different things that they can provide that websites won't be able to.
We talk about the future of our publication quite a bit. We hear from the business side of the paper, reassurance that the paper is not going away anytime soon, which I don't think it will either. I think there's certainly people read the web version of our paper when they're sitting at work and they should be working and they're drinking coffee at their desk. You can't do that with the physical paper though. With the physical paper, you have it at the coffee shop, you have it when you go to dinner, when you're waiting in line for a movie, things like that. So it's out about the city and it really lets people interact with the paper physically, which is something you can't do with the print or with the online edition.
Something you can read on the job. That's why newspapers will always be. And that's jokey, but it's also true because that's one instance in which you really can't replace something that you hold in your hands and read with an iPhone or with a laptop or with, I suppose you could, but that just seems creepy.
Despite reports of a bitter war between print and the internet, blogs and online magazines aren't out to destroy the written word. It's possible that we read more words per day now than ever before. The The emerging relationship between print and internet medias has had a strange revitalizing effect, with each side coming to realize its own particular strengths. In today's media, newspapers and blogs do not necessarily compete. Instead, they're beginning to complement each other.
They're similar, they both feature words, and they both feature writers, and they have content. As long as, I think that where the two mediums meet is, I think, where they will both learn what makes them unique, and hopefully, speaking very, very generally, it will only make newspapers better, and it will only make the internet better.
The Mercury took a huge leap into the internet over the last 2 years. We kind of went to, I'm pretty sure from the get-go, because the paper was born in 2000. But in the last 2 years, we've recognized that the internet is really where the future of journalism is, either in partnership with paper or on its own. So we started a blog, Longtown. It lets us be a daily publication, also an hourly publication. We used to have to wait until Thursday to get something out of the city, and now we can get it out 20 minutes after it lands on our desk, which is really exciting. And I think the readers find value in that too, and they're able to engage with us on this level that they weren't able to with physical paper before, and nobody is making a good case that the internet's going away in 5 years. So it's being so all-encompassing that I think it is going to continue to grow. I don't know if it's going to become a tradition, but it is, I think, going to be mainstay for our lifetimes, even though the show will probably be fed straight into our brains at some point. It's a little different.
Of course, there has to be something special about print media. Newspapers and magazines have been around for centuries and have survived the advent of radio, television, and most recently, the internet. We're always forming new traditions in media. We're always finding new ways to express ourselves and make our ideas known. The question then is not whether print will survive, but what particular role it will serve as new methods of communication continue to emerge and shape how we understand our world.
Journalism in the U.S. is such kind of a pillar of how we're founding that government, that journalism. It's always been in the form of papers. Papers were before TV, they were before radio. And they're still here when those things are thriving.
Sucks. Quote me on that.
Just 3 quick themes, and you won't be tested on these students. Your final grades are already turned in. Opportunity. There's opportunities that students have obviously found this summer. Opportunities from new technology, opportunities with new skills, opportunities with new networks. Voices. Making sure that there's voices of people that aren't normally being amplified and brought to the decision makers. And finally, community. And the students have built their own community this summer. Clearly they've built a community that has shown up here tonight. So thank you for that. We look forward to answering any questions while we finish up the cakes of beer. Thank you for coming tonight.